welcome to our two ADs.
Good day.
Time to start.
Yeah, I think so. So right now we have 20 maybe less than echo. So I think yeah, it's time to start. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. So welcome to CCAMP session. And next, please. So let's start from the noteware. I think you all know, understand the IETF process and policies very well. But I would like to emphasize one sentence here. It says that by participating in the IETF, you agree to follow IETF process and policies. So if you are would like to get more information about the IETF policies, you can, have a look at the documents on BCP. Yeah, next. This meeting, we have only one session with 2 hours. So, and also you can get more, detailed information from the link. Yeah, please. So this is the agenda. So this time we will, present a couple of the drafts. And also this time we will have some time to discuss the milestones and also the charter updates. So we, as the CCAMP working group and the secretary, we provide some, preliminary text on the milestones and the charter, and then later on we will have more discussion on this kind of topic. And also we will have some time to discuss the, young model prefix. Next, please. So we are using the Meet Echo. This is really very friend online tool. That's very good, and we have used this kind of online tool for several times. So I think we all know how to use it. Next. And also for the minutes taker, and our secretary Oscar is not here. He cannot attend this meeting. So if anyone could take the minutes while the online tool, which will be much appreciated. And also I ask my colleague Hao Mian to help us also. For the brochures, actually there's nothing for us to do. It will created automatically. Next. So for IPR policy is quite very important, and because it's really about money behind. It's more like a commercial stuff. So we all should follow the IETF policies very well. And so if you are one of the authors or contributors, I think you have to respond to IPR polling as soon as possible. Otherwise, it will delay your draft progress. Next. So for the main list, we always encourage CCAMP people to use the main list as much as possible to be more active. For example, we can use the main list to discuss anything about the CCAMP topic. For example, we can introduce some open issues, discuss some open issues, or introduce some new ideas or drafts on the list. And also there's a reminder about the working group consensus. We know working group consensus is determined on the list. Even though we got some consensus here, we still need to bring it, to the list to get the official consensus. Okay, next. Okay, it's for you, Daniele.
Yep. So let me join Fatai in saying a big thanks to Deborah for all the years in which she's been driving us through our work. and welcoming John as our new AD. Actually, if one of you would like to share, I don't know, some thoughts on how things went, I don't know, projects, ideas on how to evolve things, you are more than welcome. The stage is yours.
Well, I'm just arriving, so I think that the floor should really go to Deborah, for who has so much context.
Yep.
Hi, everybody. It's been really great. You're a great group, and I don't have anything really to say. It's quite early in the morning here. So I welcome John, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks a lot. I mean, since you've been at the CCAMP chair for many years, we think we still want to let me say, feel like one of our favorite working groups. Don't say it's not the case. Okay, so let's proceed. Recent Rfcs, there is none, but we have two of them in the editor queue. The layer 0 type and the Wson-Young, the Young model for the topology. Both of the drafts have been parked while waiting on in alignment on the Young prefixes. This is something that we decided as a working group, I would say, a few weeks ago. So the idea is today to come to a conclusion on how to proceed. We left some room for that discussion as well. We already had quite many, let me say, votes, preferences expressed on the mailing list. So it's now time to draw the conclusion and have the two drafts being progressed. We have the Wson tunnel model is expired, but I think it's just a matter of timing, because I mean, the entire working group expressed the interest in the draft, so I don't take the fact that it expired as a lack of interest from the working group to proceed it. We have a new working group draft, and we the authors showed that it is absolutely possible to change the name and the title of the draft from individual contribution to working group document. And you see the change has been successfully recorded in the data tracker, and the name of the new draft that we adopt is Ethernet client T topology. We have quite many working group drafts discussed in the agenda. We have also put together a slide to make a recap on where we are with Young Doctor reviews. Actually, the FlexiGrid Young document is awaiting for Young Doctor review. The deadline was a couple of weeks ago. I just sent a reminder yesterday to see where we are and what's a new foreseeable deadline for the review to be available. Other drafts discussed today span from FlexiGrid Media Channel, tunnel to layer 1 types and the service model, and updates on the OTN topology and tunnel models. So a lot of modeling today. There are also a number of working group drafts not in the agenda. We received some updates on them. For example, the OTN beyond 100 gigabit applicability is pretty stable and ready to move forward. We decided now to offload a little bit the young doctors, and the next two drafts that we will submit to the SG or after working group last call will be the NBI applicability statement, for which the IPR polling is concluded. So we are ready to issue the last call, the working group last call. This will happen next week after the IETF week, and the OTN beyond the 100 gigabit applicability will follow. So this is the plan. These are the next two drafts that we are planning to move forward to the next stages. Do the authors of the other ones want to say something about the progresses, plans for the DWDM interface drafts, the IDE info for WZone? Do they want to share a status update and plans for the drafts? Please, Gabriele.
Gabriele speaking. I think for the DWD interface parameter young there will be Sergio saying something, because this draft has to be aligned with the layer 0 type and the T topology young models.
Correct. Yes.
For the last one, the WSON impairment validation info actually has expired today, so I will resubmit, keeping in mind that the evolution of the other new draft we have. Thanks a lot, Daniele.
Thanks to you, Gabriele. We have another one, the client signal young, which was updated in January to add state information in the modules. There is some more work needed before considering this done, especially on underlying technology entries, and then the authors believe that this one could be considered in a pretty good shape to be sent to the next stage. So this is a recap of the young doctor reviews that we asked and that have been performed in the last year, also a couple of years. So you see that some of them have been reviewed in earlier stages. So around the working group adoption phase, some others close to the last call. The WS topology has been reviewed, a lot of comments. Everything has been fixed and it's in the editor queue. As I said before, the FlexiGrid Young is the one for which we asked a review at the beginning of the year. The deadline expired. It was supposed to be ready on the 22nd of February. So, I mean, hopefully we should have a review pretty soon. The OTN drafts, tunnel and topology, have been reviewed recently. There was revision. The version that was reviewed was 11. Now we are in 12, and it was at the end of last year. So I don't think another round of review is needed before the working group last call. Different stories for the L1 CSM and the layer 1 types, which have been reviewed quite some time ago. No review has been requested for the WSON tunnel, but I mean, as soon as we will get, we don't think that there is the need for an interim review of the draft. Probably a classical Young Dot review when approaching last call would be enough. Liaisons and Communications. We received a liaison from ITUT Study Group 15. It was in October 2020. It was the periodical update on optical transport network standardization work. This is something that was not just sent to CCAMP, but to CCAMP, MPLS, PALS, PC, and TIS. So a coordination among the different working groups will be done as usual, and a joint reply will be sent to ITUT. So this is it for the administrative part. We, as Fatai anticipated, we allocated some time to the discussion the discussion of some topics that we wanted to let me say that for sure will need to be discussed and reviewed on the mailing list, but taking the opportunity of a live meeting could be discussed today. Milestones are the first. We have not been updating them for a while, so most of the milestones that we had were pretty old, and most of them completed. A charter, we were let me say, over the years we didn't get too far from our charter, so it can be considered still valid and applicable, but an update could be needed. And we would like also, as anticipated before, close the discussion on the young prefixes and make a decision on how to proceed. So this is the list of the milestones actually on our web page. You see they are pretty old. Most of them have been successfully completed. Some of them have been removed because drafts expired. The working group didn't show a big interest in them, and this is the list of new milestone that we are proposing. This is split into two sections. Submit items that we wanted to submit to the SG, and new working group adoptions. So new items that the working group will be working on. So one thing that I would like to discuss with the working group now is priorities. So this is the list of drafts that we would like to submit to the ISG in a prioritized order. I would like to have the working group saying if there is agreement with this order, or if someone believes that some topics should be prioritized over others, and for what reasons. So let me go through them quickly. The first one is, I mean, this is a sort of borderline because it's something that we already achieved, which is having the Ethernet topology Young model becoming a working group document. Then, as I said before, the next draft that we would like to progress is the transport MBI applicability. This is a typo. Apologize for that. It must be there from wrong copy paste. Then we expect to work to deliver the first layer one drafts. So the types, which are let me say already in a pretty good advanced stage, the topology, the Audient topology, and then the FlexiGrid topology to complete the topology set of documents, topology Young models for layer 0, layer 1. Then the layer 1 CSM. The applicability, actually, this is something that, in my opinion, could be anticipated a bit, because this is something that doesn't need any young review, young check. So this is probably something that we can speed up. And then work on the WSON ID info model, and then start, once the topology documents are ready, to start working on the tunnel models, WSON tunnel, WSON OTN tunnel, the FlexiGrid media channel, client signal, the WDM interfaces, etc. Is there anything that you would like to change? Anything that, in your opinion, needs to be prioritized over other topics? Please, Fatai.
Hi, thank you, Daniele. So just one minor comment. So in the middle of the presentation, I think there's a typo. The word IETF should be IEFG.
Yes,
Right.
you're right.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll fix it. Okay, if there's no other comment, we can go to the working group adoption ones. This is a sort of a summary of the topics which are individual contributions at the moment. This one is highlighted in yellow because it seems that I don't remember if it's expired and from and since when, but the feeling, at least Fatai's and mine, is that there is no big interest in progressing work on LMP extensions for FlexiGrid. If you believe this is not the case, please let us know, or now or on the mailing list, so that we can consider it when doing reprioritization of the work. Regarding the others, Ethernet tunnel, client signal performance monitoring, client topology, client tunnel, and OTN network slicing. These are not in a priority order, so this is something that needs to be prioritized. So if you would like to express your preferences for a prioritization, once again, now during the meeting or on the mailing list. Please, Omyan.
It seems there is duplication for the Ethernet topology and client topology, and same tunnel. So some of them duplicate of each other.
I can't hear you very well, Omyan. I don't know if it's just my problem or can you try to say it again?
Hello, is it better?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So I'm saying there is some duplication with a given board. For example, the Ethernet tunnel young should be the client tunnel young.
Okay.
And the client topology is the one just adopted as the Ethernet topology.
Okay. Very good. Okay, one is duplicated, one is already there. Okay, That's fine. Please, John.
Open mic or a headset?
We can hear you.
Yeah, so I'm asking if you're using an open mic, it might be good if you mute when somebody else is speaking, because every time someone else speaks while your mic is open, there's a pretty serious echo that everyone else can hear. Just a suggestion.
Okay, I'll do that. Yes. Dieter.
Hi, this is Dieter from Nokia. I was wondering, Sergio is going to present the layer 0 typed extension draft, which is still an individual draft right now. It's the 0.0 version that's going to be presented later in this session. I think we should also consider a working group adoption quite quickly.
Yes, I mean, that draft is something that all the working group agreed to work on. I mean, the process was agreed by the working group, so I mean, it's something that we already consider as adopted. It's
okay,
it's
cool.
It's not a new contribution coming from an individual. It's something that as a working group we decided to have. Do you remember the discussion?
Yeah, I was just wondering whether we have to follow the process here carefully. So that was just my comment. Thanks.
You're welcome. So charter update. There is this is split into two sections. So in the first part, we highlighted in red the things that we would like to add. It's just a specification, nothing particular. Basically, the old charter is saying the working group develops extension to core traffic engineering protocols that are under the care of other working groups. We thought it was good to add, as well as young models for the control and management of no packet networks, including both the device models and network models. So nothing new compared with what we are doing. We just thought it was a good idea to have young modeling popping up in the main section of the charter, since 99% of the work that we are doing today is young modeling. In the second part, no big change in the working group scope. We were just thinking of removing the reference to the Lime working group, which is now closed, and update the list of things that the working group is working on actually. So protocol extensions and young models for optical, for TDM networks, microwave, layer 1 services to cover the L1 CSM, client T topology. Probably we can change these into client T topologies and tunnels, maybe. And then the rest is unchanged. So maintenance of already specified extensions and the maintenance of LMP. I see no one in the queue, so I assume everyone is fine with these changes. But once again, this will be brought to the mailing list for discussion, and then this will need John's approval to be progressed. Please, Fatai.
So I'm wondering if we also should, cover something new or some new topics in the charter. For example, slicing stuff. Right now, we already have one individual draft, discussed the OTN slicing. Slicing is a kind of, popular topic, right, in IETF or other SDOs. But, right now, actually, there are more, lots of discussions more about the, packet slicing. But right now, maybe OTN or optical networks could also be applicable to slicing stuff. So I'm wondering if we should cover this or not. Yeah.
Good comment. Yes, I think so. I mean,
Okay.
I agree with you. Slicing as a packet as a priority, but for sure there are requests and requirements for doing slicing also in non-packet technology, and hence it falls in our domain. I agree. Okay, so this is the last one. As we anticipated, we would like to close the discussion. Please, Deborah.
Let's see if the mic works better. On the network slicing, I think that's a great idea, Fatai. And remember, there's two aspects. There's for example, the GMPOS control, and then also from the SDN Yang view. And it would be important to include the multi-layer aspect.
Yeah, good point. Noted as well. Good. So, last topic. Yang prefixes. So, the working group decided to have a discussion on alignment of Yang prefixes. This is an activity that is being done also in conjunction with the TIS, because the number of modules in common with them is pretty high. This is the reason why we decided to put the two drafts in the editor queue on hold to decide, let me say, how to change the prefixes used there to be aligned with the rest of the work. There were a couple of proposals, WSON-T and WSON-Topo, each of which with pros and cons. WSON-T is more aligned with the prefixes used by the network topology and the T topology, RFC 8795 and 8345, which use the prefix TT and NT. So keeping an alignment with them is for sure a nice to have. This has been this is also the preferred solution by TIS. Alternatively, we can use WSON-Topo, which is more self-explanatory, so it's easier from a readability point of view. It's potentially aligned with the WSON tunnel and the WSON TRL prefix conventions used for tunneling. Actually, my reading of the working group of preference is that the WSON-T is the preferred choice. We have a number of replies in this direction. So unless there is any last-minute objection or strong motivation not to go for it, Fatai and I have decided to proceed with WSON-T. We will communicate this to the RFC editor, which is holding the pen for the layer 0 types and WSON Yang documents. And with that, that's it for our long introduction, and we are ready to start with the first presentation, which will be given by Sergio, if I'm not mistaken.
Me? Daniele?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, hello everybody. I'm Sergio Bellotti from from Nokia. I'm going to update the working group about optical impairment aware topology young model on behalf of other co-authors and contributors that are here in the list. Second slide. Okay, so from the last IETF, this is the activity that we made. Was the first bullet is organizational. We work together with the other co-authors and contributors, and we have a weekly call, WebEx weekly call now on Tuesday. So we change the date from Thursday to Tuesday. Then the topic that we touched in this period was first we change the section 2.5 that was related to the transponder model part. This section has been updated based on discussion and GitHub issues that we will see in the next slides. Then second bullet, we addressed updating the model with the support of the C+L band amplifiers. And the third, we made some modification of the young tree with the young tree simplification related to the OMS optical multiple section part of the model, in which there was redundant information that was eliminated. Next. Okay, so there has been a poll taken and wanted by the chairs after some discussion, a poll related to the modes used in our model. The modes are the different way in which the model is dealing with the transceiver capabilities. And so we have some discussion about, in particular, the context of the organizational mode and the relationship with the interoperability concept. For this reason, there was a poll. The poll was, the decision was to take the young as it is, because there was no need to change that, but to add some text to better clarify the scope of the drafts related to the interoperability concept, and the same way to expand a bit the text related to in specifically for the organizational mode. So a text has been introduced about in the introduction, has been added a text clarifying the fact that the optical data plane interoperability is a complex task that is usually requires some, let me say, joint engineering, and is outside the scope of this draft. The scope of the draft has to be very clear, is to provide the needed information to support optical impairment aware path computation. Then, following some comments that you can see easily in the GitHub, have been expanded the text from the section 2.5.2 about organizational mode. Also here provide clarification about interoperability, and provide clarify the role, the precedence related to the fact that the modes subsume some basic attributes, the basic attributes related to the system, apart the optical power and frequency range. And these attributes can be explicit or implicit given in the model, and the text clarify the precedence and how to use that in the context of the modes. The last has been updated the mode related to the standard, the so-said standard mode, specifying better the text and the fact that with application code actually with the ITUT, aligned with the ITUT G6098.1, sorry, the data plane interoperability is guaranteed. On the other side, the important point is that this standard mode for the moment is pointing just the ITUT specification, because it's the only one that are present in the moment in the market, but nothing prevent from the model to consider other standard mode standard specification as soon as they can be presented on the market. Next slide. Hello? Next. Okay, so the second point that we address is for the Young update. We added the part related to the C+L band amplifier. So the C+L band amplifier are physically two amplifiers that are both part of the same type of amplifier, but are characterized by different attributes related to the band, the gain, noise of figures, and others. So the model we thought to solve this issue and to update the model. For any type of amplifier, we added a list of amplifier that are part always of the same type of amplifier with all the attributes and the related frequency range of operation that characterized one amplifier belonging to the same class. And you can characterize if this frequency range is belonging to the C band or L band. We have used a list and not just a pair of amplifiers because we wanted to be future safe for possible evolution for band amplifiers. Next. Okay, we simplify the Young model in the three because we observe that within the part of the model related to the optical multiple section for the OMS element list, the model was presenting the redundancy information to select the type of element. And this redundancy has been removed. So we have removed the yellow part that I represented in the extract from the Young. So we deleted the type and element because in the choice is already there the container that characterize the type of OMS element, so amplifier or fiber span or attenuators. Then we have also added, we changed the name for the OED to clarify better the context of the OED. So this is OMS element OED. Next. So we take the track of the open issue in the link that I reported here, so you can understand the issue discussion and what are the resolution linked to the Young model. We have closed 10 issues from the last IETF meeting. We are still have 17 issues, but from these 17, only 3 are real Young needed enhancement from the perspective of optical impairments topology model. We have 4 out of them that have been already identified solution. It's just a matter of time. We will not be able to address that before the IETF, but we know how to do that, and so we'll be addressed with the next Young model commit. There are 2 issues that are editorial. There is a review terminology internal and some alignment with the G807 ITUT. 3 are related to question for clarification, and 3 are requests to remove some part, some news grouping. We know that young doctors don't want to have a grouping that are in use or use just only one. So we try to follow these rules. And so we need to understand if this grouping can be used in the future or not, and so the issue has to be investigated. Next. So one of the issue is.
Sorry, Sergio, a question.
Yes.
What are the questions for clarification? Is this something that the working group can have a say on? I don't know.
There are some. There are 3 issues that are practically ask more specific some part of the drafts of the model. For example, I don't know. One question is related to the future of method of the ZR specification related to the model. So this type of question is not strictly related to the Young part, but is a more general question, let me say, that the group has to clarify.
Okay, so I would think that it could be useful for in these cases to have I don't know, a summary every so often on the mailing list saying, guys, please, we would need your help with these 2-3 items, because I mean, I'm not sure that everyone would go periodically and check the open issues on GitHub. So it's a sort of asking for review of particular things.
You mean just for the 3 of 1, or?
I'm referring. Those are the ones where the working group could provide more help immediately, but obviously not limited to just to them.
Okay, we will take into account for next time. Okay, so one of the issue is related to the extension of the model to support the C+L band amplifier. C+L band not only for amplifier, but for the other network component, and in particular for related to the RODAM. So the group has started already to discuss how to extend the model to deal with that. And related to the extension for RODAM, have been raised an issue, a potential issue, due to the fact that there is let me say some problem with respect what are the abstraction topology model following the TT topo and following what is proposed in the Yang with respect the real physical implementation. And so the point is that, and you can see in the picture, on the right side, there is what are the structure in the RODAM or related and the OMS part with the booster and preamplifier from the topology model. And on the left is the mapping on what is the real equipment part. And so the problem is that there is some from a booster and preamplifier, we have a multiple input-output port from the RODAM part. And you can see that on the green ballet, the green circle in the drone. So it is clear that the model is already providing an abstracted view of the physical implementation, and there is no issue going from the physical implementation and to from controller perspective to expose the abstracted part from the left to the right, because the model permits without problem to distinguish the amplifier. So we have link ID, amplifier ID to identify amplifier. But the problem is if from abstracted part there is the need to map on the equipment on the real implementation. So the point we need just to be clear is not impacting at all the issue 51. So we have discussion and we can progress on to extend the model also for RODAM, but it's just a question from the working group about the fact that is not the first time that the issue on the mapping between the abstract view to the on the physical implementation is being raising not only for optical impairment but also in other discussion. So the group thought that would be good to put the question on the list, so on the working group. If it is needed to have a standardized rule needed to map the topological port and the physical RODAM ports, and to solve the issue, we could have two ways. One way is to adding additional attributes or defining specific naming rule for existing attributes. So, for example, I don't know, to concatenate the two labels of the two ports, mapping on the abstract port on the preamplifier on booster. So this is the question for the working group, but again, this is not impacted the solution of the issue from modeling perspective. Okay, next. Okay, next, for the next step, we wanted obviously to address the other open issue and solve them. We are already ongoing on the activity to extend the RODA model to support C+L band. We needed to specify 3R generator based on optical transponder model. And we wanted to be ready for young doctor review. We hope for next IETF.
Okay, very good. Thanks. Any question? Please, Fatay.
So actually, I read this revision of this draft, and I see there's a change to replace application codes with standard modes. So I actually think this is a good idea, and I support it. But I also have another comment. So in the body of the main body of this draft, it says the Young model defines 3 different approaches to describe the transceiver capability. Blah, blah. So I think this description is very good. But to avoid any confusion, I also would like to suggest that we should add some text to describe explicitly something like it does not require an implementation must support 3 approach, right? Which means that an implementation could only support 1 or 2 approach. Is my understanding is correct or not?
I think the model permits to describe the transceiver capability in different mode, but does not imply that the system and implementation need to support all of the 3. Sure.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it's better for us to add some text because describe this kind of thing explicitly.
Fatay, your voice is disappear, at least for me.
You cannot hear me clearly? Okay, I would like to repeat. I understand what you just said. So I mean, we should add some text to describe something explicitly to avoid some confusion.
Okay, so you want to add text to underline the fact that is not implied to support every mode. This is what you're saying.
Right. Yes. Right. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments about the topic, the issue that I raised? Okay.
And I would proceed with the next.
Okay. I'm again Sergio Bellotti. So I'm going to present a new drafts that is the layer 0 type extension that please next slide. So this draft has been provided after the discussion that we had some months ago about the fact that the layer 0 type has been reducing the scope before the publication just dealing with covering spectrum management aspects. The intention was to stabilize, let me say, the layer 0 type and permit to speed up the process of publication of the layer 0 type and the related layer 0 topology that has dependency on that. So in particular is the IETF110 topology. To permit this process, has been created this document that practically complements the content of layer 0 type, try to reconciling all this, the technical structure, the Young structure that was related to transponder model that was spread in different drafts present in CCAMP, and with the intention to create a common collection of Young structure and definition that can be used by all the other WZone or flexible grid, and obviously the WDM interface model that is very close and complementary of optical impairment topology model. The life cycle of this draft will be practically in parallel of draft IETF layer 0 type. Will be updated with the content of the layer 0 type as soon as it will reach the publication, and in that case we'll change again the name on layer 0 type, and then the intention is that this layer 0 type will proceed with a V2 version of and to have a new RFC containing all the part that was in the previous layer 0 type plus the new one. Next slide. So what I summarize by words is we try to express with these slides that should provide what would be the process of layer 0 type and layer 0 type that the green part is the one that is already in the ESCG process, and so we would like to proceed towards the publication, and then there is a parallel process related to the layer 0 type extension and the creation of layer 0 type version 2 as soon as the layer 0 type reach the RFC, and then the procedure of the layer 0 type version 2 till the publication as well, with encompassing the new part related to the layer 0 type extension and all the part that was in the layer 0 type version 1. Next, about the other layer 0 draft that are present in CCAMP, there are some that can follow the same path as WZone topology and optical impairment as drawn in the slides. For example, the flexible grid topology is pretty stable version, and even if it is not yet in the ESCG process, this is why I haven't put that in the slides before, is in the stable situation, so we can presume that can follow the same path as Ot topology using layer 0 type version 1 in the process to become RFC. Instead, other documents like flexible grid tunnel, W-zone tunnel, or interface model that are not yet in the ACG process, we could envisage that for them we have a process using layer 0 type extension version 2, like what we depicted for optical impairments. This type of procedure obviously does not prevent theoretically to introduce also, in case we need a layer 0 type V3, in case some time discrepancies can happen among different drafts, no, in the RFC process. Next. Okay, we have discussed before. Daniele said that is considered like an adoption, automatic adoption, but okay, we would like to have a working group adoption for these drafts, and obviously the draft has to add other Young structure as needed as soon as other layer 0 Young model need to have the new grouping that can be hosted in this collector like layer 0 type extension model. This is all for my.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, this is a draft that was requested by us, so we could have it directly published as a working group draft. But I mean, no one prevents us to follow the path, since the classical standard process. So we will issue a short working group adoption poll.
Okay, so you think to have an adoption poll normally and then change the name?
Yes, a short one.
Okay.
Maybe 1 week instead of classical 2-3 weeks. Aumian?
Huawei. I should mention this later, sorry, Sergio. But I noticed sometimes we are using version 2, sometimes we are using revision 2, and sometimes we are using a dash with ext calling for extension. So I can imagine some problems for future extension, because today the layer 0 types version 1 is in RFC editor queue, and we create this kind of with L0 types ext. So I'm not sure how to name the next one if this layer 0 types ext is in the editor's queue and we want to create the next one. So I would suggest we rename it as dash v2 for globally of this work, including the module, the draft name, and somewhere else.
You mean the dash v2, this one?
A dash v2, yeah, for to replace the dash ext.
Okay.
Yeah.
Italo, please.
I think, if I understand correctly, the idea is that this document, this module will not go to RFC as -xt. We should go as a revision of layer 0 types. So maybe we can, but yes, I'm okay. So we should not have major issues in the long term. It's just something to do now once we have 2 drafts in progress in different stages.
Yeah, you are correct, Italo, because the intention, at least also from my understanding, was that as soon as the layer 0 type reached the publication, then this extension came back to layer 0 type name. But well, is the name we can decide what is the better one.
Yeah, but I mean, that's something that we can decide at a later stage, also together with Bjorn, to understand if a BIS is the right approach or whatever. We can discuss it at a later stage. Now we can focus on the content. Next one should be done, if I'm not mistaken.
Hi, thank you, Daniele. Hi, everyone. So this is a very short update on the FlexiGrid Yang models that we've been working on. We've combined both documents into a single presentation. So I'll start with the Yang model for sort of FlexiGrid topology, and then conclude with the Yang model for FlexiGrid tunnels or media channels. Cool. Next slide, please, Daniele. There we go. So essentially, this is a document that describes how to model our FlexiGrid topology network. Essentially, we've got a number of dependencies that sort of slow down some of the work, including the T topology. We've also got some dependencies, as Sergio just highlighted, with the layer 0 types and also sort of optical impairment. That said, we feel the document is now stable. There were a few sort of minor issues that we're waiting for the working group to address, including the prefix discussion. We've also updated the security section and just clarified our references and sort of separating them into clear normative and informative documents that maybe someone would want to look at in terms of sort of implementation aspects. And of course, like most of the other documents, we tend to track the code, so the XML version of the document, and also all the open issues using a GitHub repository. We do feel that the document is now ready for working group last call. We had 2 fairly comprehensive reviews. Thank you, Haumian and Adrian. They posted their reviews directly to the list, and so we've addressed those. And I think the chair's already highlighted that we are also queued for a Yang Doctor review as well. So next slide, please. Great. So the second document is our FlexiGrid media channel. I suppose it's worth reminding the working group that this is work that started approximately 3 years ago. So it's yeah, we wouldn't call it historic, but it's certainly been queued for a while. The focus was on the topology, especially as we initially kind of mixed some of the media channel discussion in the topology document, and that's been removed and separated into the media channel specific the document. We have done a full refresh. I suppose we could see this as a restart, actually, of the document. It hadn't, we hadn't had a new revision for at least 18 months. So I would request that the working group sort of does take a look at the current version. We have now aligned the document with some of the other existing work as well, trying to sort of import as much as possible. There are, of course, some ongoing issues, and I'll sort of get onto those in a couple of moments. I would also ask the working group to, well, let me rephrase that. If there are implementers beyond the document authors who are going to be implementing it or have already implemented, we would like to hear about it, because currently we've only got sort of 2 confirmed implementations of the FlexiGrid Yang documents. Next slide, please. Good. So in summary, we have a number of open issues, and I do sort of take on board what Daniele mentioned earlier, which is we have to be careful that we don't end up developing and reaching conclusions in isolation in GitHub, rather that we use GitHub for tracking, but we bring specific sort of technical open issues to the list and make sure that we're following working group process rather than sort of doing everything in isolation. So that's really important, and I'll drop an email later today to the list just to highlight the open issues that we currently have, and those include working with operators just to develop a use case that we may use to help with the Yang model itself, and if it's useful, we'll leave it in the document. If it's not, maybe we will remove it or just move it to an appendix. As we've seen with Sergio's previous presentation, there's some sort of decision making that needs to be done in terms of what we specify in this document, or do we actually move some of the attributes into the L0 tunnel attributes or L0 types extensions and just import instead. And I think it's actually the latter. I think we're just going to import, but that's a decision we need to make as a group of authors. We are looking to maintain momentum now with the discussion around FlexiGrid by having a weekly a Zoom call, and that is open, and anyone is welcome to attend that. We will report kind of conclusion and updates as frequently as possible to the list as well. And just one request while we have the attention of the chairs and the secretary, if we could add 2 additional contributors to the CCAMP GitHub repository for the FlexiGrid media channel. They're listed on the slide here. I have sent an email. I didn't get a response back yet. And that is it. Are there any questions?
Regarding the housekeeping part, for sure we will add it. Sorry if we missed your request. I don't remember about it. I must have missed it. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Any more question? Okay. If not, we can move to the next presentation, which is number 4, an update on the OTN models. A quick time check. It's we are almost 15 minutes late, but we have a buffer of 15 minutes at the end of the session, so we can say we are perfectly on time. But from now on, please try to adhere to your time slot. Please, Hao-Mian.
Okay, thank you, Daniele. So this is Hao-Mian from Huawei, and I'm going to give some update on a group of OTN models. And the first one is the layer 1 types. Next, please. So now we have been updating to version 10, and the objective of this document is to specify the common used identities, groupings, and type definitions used in layer 1 networks. And nowadays only the most popular one is OTN. So we have list out the most frequently used groupings in this slide, including the link bandwidth and path bandwidth, and for label related groupings. So they will be used multiple times when augmenting the Audient topologies and Audient tunnels to the generic T topology and tunnels. So we have next, please. So we have added some text descriptions on the specified groupings and what they mean and how to use them. And we also clean up the reference in both the draft and the modules to make sure that each of the parameters in the grouping have a kind of data plane supporting from the other recommendation like G.709. And we also addressed the comments from the Young Doctors review and the comments from the mailing list. So next, please. So, okay, the authors are thinking that the module is now stable and we are ready for working group last call. But as I was aware earlier in the beginning session that the Young Doctor review has been quite many versions ago, so maybe we also need another Young Doctor review. It depends on the chair's positioning. But if we do another Young Doctor review, I would suggest we do a joint review with the Audient Topology and Tunnel because they are highly dependent.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's an old one, I'm not. This is a pretty simple and straightforward model, and we already have a lot of indications on the L0 type from Robert. So I would be comfortable to progress the draft also without another round of Young Doctor review. Also, let me say from a practical point of view, also not trying not to overload them with a lot of work because we have other drafts that need a more thorough review. So I mean, I would tend to think that the review that we have had so far is more than enough to proceed. What do you think? Do you think
great.
that there have been major changes that require another review, or not?
Not necessary. Not necessary.
Okay.
I think we can continue.
Very good.
Okay, and next would be the update of the Audient topology. Next, please. So here we list a summary of our changes from last IETF. Okay, most of the groupings have been moved to layer 1 types, and here we just left a few over there. But now we added the descriptions about the grouping usage when you collecting the topology, because this is the topology model. We also prepared for the working group last call by cleaning up the security considerations, and this is done by harmonizing with the RFC 8795, which is the T topology, and also we harmonized the Young module with the latest layer 1 types, so now they are in a good relationship. Next, please. Oh, this is a rather independent one because I was wondering whether we talk about the prefix in the working group session, but it seems we solved the problem for the prefix selection for topology, and for the Audient topology, we will use OTNT with the same WSON style. But another question would be what would be used for the tunnel. This should be listed in the next draft, but I put them together. So nowadays potential options include the WSON dash tunnel and WSON TNL or WSON-TNL. TNL is a kind of abbreviation for tunnel. So I think we may skip the WSON-tunnel full spelling, given that we choose WSON-T. So, but we may decide which one to use, the one with hyphen or the one without. So to make sure that we proceed to the tunnel module easier.
Which one is used in the TE tunnel model? Do you remember by heart? I would say
it should
that
be
since we
IETF. They didn't mention the tunnel. The full name of the module was IETF-TE.
Okay, so it doesn't help.
Yeah, but we may mention this to T's as well. Okay, so okay, the next two discussions is less urgent compared with the previous two, but I think FlexiGrid topology and tunnel and Ethernet topology and tunnel, I would suggest we use consistent prefix altogether. Next, please. So, okay, so there has been Young Doctor review, maybe 1 or 2 versions ago, and we addressed all the Young Doctor review comments, and we are requesting for the working group last call probably after we decide the prefix. The module is available on the GitHub, and we also suggest to cluster this work with the layer 1 types like what we did for layer 0 and WSON. So should I continue, or we have any discussions in previous one?
I don't see anyone in the queue, so I think we can continue.
Okay, thank you. So the next one would be Audient Tunnel. Next, please. Yeah, this one we tweaked a lot of, on the text, because we rewrote the text in abstraction, and we revised the text in security consideration to align with the latest generic tunnel models. And we also do some initial Young module changes by removing the source and destination client signal, as we are now having a separate client signal module. So this two should be removed. I said this is the initial Young module changes because there is a big task that we need to align with the IETF-TE, which is a moving target from the day. So next, please. So yeah, so we talked with the authors, and we believe it would be better to align with the generic T models after that one has been IES3 processing, which means rather fixed. And this is the only comments we haven't addressed in the Young Doctor review, and it's not technical, so it's only about the Young syntax. And as mentioned earlier, we also need to select the prefix for the Audient Tunnel model as well. So, okay, so generally 2 open issues so far, and but we didn't. Both of these 2 issues are not technical, so I'm wondering if we can request the working group last call if not blocking by the issues above. That's it.
Okay. Is there any question? So for the working group last call, as we said before, now we have drafts piling up. It's just a matter of defining priorities. as we said before, we have a sort of bottleneck in the young doctors area. So we decided to prioritize the transport MBI applicability and the OTN applicability beyond the 100 gigabits. This is for sure one of the next in line, because if you remember a while ago we said that the roadmap that we were trying to follow was topologies, optical topologies, OTN topologies, and then the tunnels. So this is more or less the priority that we would like to follow. Okay.
Oh, thanks. Noted. And yeah, because I think the generic tunnel also take time, so we can wait.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Miana. The next one is the layer 1 service model. Who's the presenter? Is it again or is Italo?
No, it's me, Italo.
Italo. Okay, please.
Okay, I will try to speed up. Okay, this is about layer 1 CSM. I'm Italo Busi from Huawei. Yep.
Everyone but you. Everyone but you.
Okay, next slide. Okay, we had few changes since the last version. We addressed the comments from top patch, and basically we clean up the YAM model, and we have moved the JSON example to appendix, and we have created some issues related to the SLS model. Tom raised good comments, and we may need to review it. And we are tracking all these issues and changes into the GitHub mentioned in the slide. Next. One of the open point that we have to discuss is about the rules for the protocol coding function and optical interface functions. Not all these three not all the combinations of these three possible values are allowed. And MEF63 has 4 tables that describe all the possible combination. And the problem that we have is, how do we check that the combination that has been configured is valid? And we have some discussion in the previous meetings about leveraging all the identities. After some discussion with our working group, it looks like that was not possible. And the must paint is also not working because we have defined these 3 types as identities. So maybe we need to describe these checks in the document and not in Yang. I raised some questions a few days ago on NetMod working group about where and how we can do this check. And it looks like we can do this check before setting the configuration into the running data store. That was at least the only comment I received. So maybe we need to just describe this into the draft to make it clear that some checks has to be done on these 3 attributes, which are not formally encoded into Yang. Okay, next slide. This is a little bit about more details. So what happens? The client of writing the running data store, and then the problem is there are 2 options. The invalid configuration can be set in the running data store, but not applied to the operational data store. If you follow the option, the problem we have is that the client will never know why what it has configured has not been applied. So we may need to push some warning, some status in the document, in the model to inform it. The second option, and this looks like possible from the feedback I received yesterday, is that the valid configuration is rejected and not accepted into the running data store. So we need basically some backend checks before the configuration coming from the client is written in the running data store, and then we can have a protocol error message that replies to the client. And one question is whether we want this protocol error message to be defined into the draft or leave it as implementation specific. So any opinion about whether we want to suggest the error message or otherwise any implementation can do whatever it wants. We need to describe what's happening in the reality when you implement to make sure that there is no incorrect configuration of these three attributes. Next slide. So the next steps is basically to resolve the open issue that we have. So one is about, as one discussed, what is the rules that we have to implement to make sure that the configuration of these three attributes is consistent. Then there are some performance metrics which are defined in MEF, but we have also other documents which are defined in performance metrics based on the IETF definition. And I think Tom was right. We need to a little bit align the two definitions, because maybe there should be no major differences in the semantic. And then we noticed also the SLL monitoring model is not fully aligned with the MEF63 requirements, and we need to do some updates in the document, in the model itself. And additional review and feedbacks from the working group are more than welcome to progress the work. That's all. Any comment, especially opinions on the validation of the three attributes? Are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you share what is your preferred solution? Your preferred
slide number 4. Okay. For the processing rules.
Yes.
My preference is that you don't set the configuration in the running data store. So it's much cleaner for the client, because it sends a request to write the configuration, it gets an error message back. And I think it will also be nice to have some I don't know if standardized or suggested text to be put into the error message. So we simplified it a bit, the interoperability, because you know exactly what is the problem that has caused the rejection of your configuration. And for the error message, I'm open to suggestion. I didn't think about yet what is the right text. But
yeah. I think I agree with you. The more the more freedom we leave, the less interoperability chances we have. It's usually or better. More work is needed by system integrators to have different vendors interwork. So I mean, that's personal opinion, obviously, not as chair. Okay, if is there anyone that would like to share opinions on these issues before we proceed? If not, we will jump to the last presentation from Ayua on network slicing.
Okay. You hear me clearly?
Very well.
Good. Hi everyone. This is Aihua Guo from FutureWeek, and I'm presenting this draft for OTN network slicing on behalf of all the co-authors and contributors. Next page. So in this draft, we introduced the concept of OTN slice controller, which can be deployed inside or outside of an SDN controller, which has an interface to an SDN controller with the MPI at the MPI, and also interacts with an upper layer orchestrator or slice controller at the MBI. There are a lot of discussions in the no, not yet. Yeah, there are a lot of discussion. Can you go back to the last slide? Yeah, so there are a lot of discussions in the TEAS working group about the network slice definitions and the workflows. And prior to this meeting, we have received a lot of helpful comments from interested parties. In particular, the relationship between the OTN slice controller and an orchestrator or the IETF network slice. So there needs to be quite some alignment work to be done in the next step. Next. Okay, so this draft is focusing on the OTN slice realization at the MPI, and there are two types of OTN slicing that we are considering. One is the connectivity-based, in which an OTN slice can be realized by its supporting by creating client services with ODU switched tunnels. And for this one, the existing models, such as the network topology and TE tunnel model, OTN TE tunnel model, plus the client signal model, has already supported this use case, and there's no need, at least as far as we can see, to extend it. The second one is what we call resource-based OTN slicing, which is to create OTN slices by reserving ODU topological resources over an OTN topology. And this is the focus of the Yang model within this draft. Next. So some major updates since the last revision. So we are very happy to have new authors joining us, in particular Victor from Telefonica. And there are also a lot of interest on this from other parties, and we will be adding more to this, more co-authors to this draft once it is agreed upon. And also we updated use case descriptions based on the feedback from the co-authors, and we added a Yang model for the OTN-SC MPI with the goal of realizing an OTN slice using resource coloring over a T topology. And that coloring could be link-based or ODU time slot based. Next. Yeah, so this is the initial model of the OTN slicing at the MPI, and as you can see, it is augmenting the T topology model by adding a slice identifier to the T link, and it specifies whether this slice is link based, which means the entire T link is assigned to a slice, or it could be an OTN time slot based. Yeah, and there's one thing to note is a previous version of this model was also contributed to the ONAP open source project and has been published within its last release. Next. So here are the next steps. So we are also looking into adding a Yang data model for the OTN-SC MPI, and again, there is alignment work needs to be done for the IETF network slicing and the ongoing discussions within the TEAS working group. We will put it as a second step, and also we will be looking into the slicing for external links, which is the both the access link for the OTN network and also interdomain when we're dealing with when we are dealing with interoperability at the between multiple ODU layers, ODU domains. And the third one is we will be align this definition with the discussion in the TEAS working group, and we're likely to address that with probably a new use case that an OTN slicing is a realization of IETF network slice, and an OTN slice controller is a subordinate of from the control perspective. Also, we'll be addressing comments and reviews from the working group and also co-authors and reviewers. And the last thing is to socialize and invite more co-authors before we try to ask for working group adoption. Next. Right. Oh, so yeah, this is just one additional slide that we wanted to show the discussion about the relationship between OTN slicing and IETF network slice. On the left, you will see this is what we are the current use cases in which the OTN slice request is coming from the client, which is carried all the way down to the OTN slice controller with OTN specific information. Whereas on the right, the OTN slice is just part of realization of IETF network slice, and the network slice controller will initiate an OTN slice request to a subordinate OTN slice controller. But no matter whether it's the left or the right, the interface used by an OTN slice controller is always the same. Yeah, but this this scenario will need to be more clarified in the following discussions, and I hope to hear more feedback from the interesting parties on that. Yeah. I think that's it, and comments are more than welcome.
I will start. So I think the draft very good progresses, and I really appreciated the alignment with other work in other working groups, and the work being done in TIS being one of them. I had a question regarding the scope. Why does it cover just the MPI and not the CMI? In the sense that how can the orchestrator or the network slice controller decide to create an OTN slice upon a generic request on top? Is simply autoscope and will be managed somewhere else, or it is assumed that the generic request for I don't know 10 gigabit of bandwidth can be accommodated by the orchestrator or the network slice controller, deciding autonomously whether to use an OTN slice or a different slice?
Yeah, as indicated, we're covering the OTN slicing at the MPI is just first step, and the OTN slicing for the MPI will also be included in perhaps the next revision. Okay.
Maybe you can say that it's the scope of step one, and then eventually we'll cover also the CMI, just to avoid the same question to be raised by the reader.
Thanks. Yeah, will do.
So, does anyone have other questions? If not, I think we can close this section. Thank you everyone for the participation. Thank you to the presenters, and we will continue the discussion on charter update, milestone update, etc. on the mailing list. Thank you everyone. Have a good rest of the day.
Bye bye.
Bye.